1, 2, 3. Hey!
Hello.
Hey. Good evening. We're in this very professional looking space. Me with my not matching socks and the beefy that Franky got for me. I'm Virtual Riot, by the way.
I'm Franky Nuts.
And I'm Neurite.
Yes, and we spent the whole day trying to make this look as professional as possible. So we had to squeeze in very cozy to make sure it all matches. But I think it looks pretty good, right?
Yeah. Be cozy.
You want cozy with the beefy.
It's the most romantic snack. No,
you guys can be cozy with your beef stick over there.
It's like a German kind of thing that reminds me of home because it's kind of the worst trash rest stop snack that you get at a gas station in Germany.
It will stay good for like 2 years for sure.
Yeah. All the preservatives that you can think of. That's probably the closest that German snack food will come to American snack food. I've noticed that since I'm in America, whenever I open the fridge and I'm like, for example, I get deli meat, like some meat slices to put on a toast, and it's been 2 weeks since I opened it first, or 3 weeks, and I think, is it going to be good? But then I remember I'm in America and there's probably so many preservatives in it that is probably fine. And in Germany, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's strange, right?
Toss it out earlier or be a little more suspicious.
I also ate so much more than I would usually do in Europe, like all the stuff that you find out here. But it was funny talking about the beefies because I watched the podcast from you. I don't know which one it was, but you were talking about, I actually wanted to order some snacks from Germany and I didn't know who they were. So I brought some Dutch snacks, stroopwafels. Do you know that?
Waffle? Like
stroopwafel. Yeah, so they're like very thin, round, like little cookies. Oh, yes, she knows. Okay. But I ate them all on the way.
Oh, I can't eat them.
But so we were talking about this. And he was like, you know what, I would really would love to have some beefies. I was like, oh, hold up, I got him. So that was, it was a really nice coincidence. Yeah.
My favorite Dutch snack food is actually hagelslag and vla.
Yeah, that's also really nice, right? Well, we actually have a few. Well, we don't really have nice like Dutch dishes, or at least I'm not a really big fan of it, but we have a few nice snacks, though. Yeah. What about Germany?
I mean, we got the best potato chips, in my opinion.
Yeah, those paprika chips are fire.
Especially the paprika chips. So we're really good at that. We got good marzipan, the from almonds
as well.
There's like a big city in Germany that's known for it. But did you have any culture shock moments actually coming to the US since this is your first time in the US, especially with food?
Culture shock. I mean, there's just sugar and salt like in everything. I'm craving pasta ever since I got here, and I couldn't find it for less than like $30 for like just a simple pasta dish. So I was like, screw that, I'll make it myself or whatever. And eventually I went to this restaurant, I ordered pasta, and after the dish, it just felt like I took a sip of like seawater. Like I even got nauseous. And I was like, fuck.
So much sodium.
So much salt. So that's kind of the thing. And I know this is gonna sound really weird, but my girlfriend used to watch this like murder mystery things, like the stories where, for instance, she watches a thing called Murders on Holidays. So there's like people that being strangled by Christmas lights and stuff. And for some reason, this always happens in America, or they film it in America at least.
No, I think it's mainly happening in America.
That could be too. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions here, but most of these murders they happen in this like Motown hotels and stuff. And since I have to be a little cheap on this tour, I actually. Went to a few motels to stay on the night, and sometimes I open the doors in the motel. I was like, oh, this is that like murder scene room. So that was kind of the culture shock, I guess, for me.
That reminds me, in German, on like TV, we often have American TV programs that have been dubbed and then made German. And
often, all the time.
And they have different names too. For example, when I grew up, there was a show called X Factor, but it wasn't a casting show at all. It was this guy in like this room, just doing an introduction, and then you would see these short films that were like paranormal, scary stories. Maybe someone would die, and at the end he would reveal which of the 3 or the 4 was real and which they made up. And it would be sometimes there would be some paranormal stuff or like a weird coincidence. I remember one time it was a story about someone who wanted to kill someone else. The bullet got stuck in a tree, and then years later someone else tried to chop down the tree with a chainsaw, and it ripped the bullet out, and it ended up actually killing the guy it was supposed to kill. And stuff like that. I don't know if that was the real one, but I remember that one very fondly. If anyone knows what that was called, because it was definitely American. It was 100% American because they use like special German voices to overdub this American kind of stuff that are like overly expressive.
I think Americans just really like true crime.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I also want to know the other way around now. Well, you visit Europe?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, all the time.
Did you have a culture shock when you go to Europe?
My things with Europe are the beds are hard and there's no ice anywhere.
No. Beds aren't hard.
No, they're very
perfectly
hard.
fine. The US beds are too soft.
What do you mean? No, it's like and you call them and they're like, most people complain that our beds are way too soft. And I'm like, you can't even sleep on them.
My bed is really hard.
The ice thing though is a big thing. It's like, I don't understand what it is about Europe, but they don't like things cold. Like they don't drink, and cold to them is like what I would consider room temperature.
Right. I mean, I actually love my drinks cold, so it's a surprise to me that every hotel room, everywhere I go, there's an ice vending machine. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so nice. Really cool. Like when I come back from Europe, I'm always like ice, and I make just like the biggest glass of ice. But I like Europe a lot. I like the food and snacks. That's my favorite. But culture shock wise, I think those are the two things that I always.
Maybe we just want more drink per drink and less ice in our drink.
Yeah,
because here at McDonald's you get like half the cup full of ice.
I'd rather have a smaller amount of a really good experience of drinking a drink.
When I was in London, I was actually so happy that in the hallway of the hotel I stayed at, they had a dispenser for sparkling and still water at regular temperature.
Nice. Oh, that
sweet. Was killer. I wish that was a thing here. But I definitely had, food-wise, I did have some sort, not just culture shock, but a bodily shock. And this is where I have to ask you, did your shit turn green when you started eating food here?
No, not yet.
Because you didn't start with Fruit Loops. I did. I started, as soon as I came here and I was moving in with Willie and Dave, I got Fruit Loops and they are way different over here. They are first of all, there's way more sugar. It's the first thing on the ingredients list, then wheat and all the other things. And the coloring is also different because in Europe, they're only allowed to use like natural coloring. So stuff isn't usually blue, like bright blue.
Actually, do you know where the coloring comes from? What they use? They use in Europe. They use small like insects and stuff, like dried insects. And then you grind it.
It has to come from like a natural source.
Yeah.
But then I had the Fruit Loops over here, which looked like they're radioactive. And immediately green turds.
Red 40 mixed with whatever blue thing you
There's actually, I think Yellow 8 has recently been found to have an incredibly interesting application in medicine. I think it's Yellow 8. I'm not. It's one of the yellows where they rubbed it on the stomach of mice to test it, and it made their skin transparent.
Ah, interesting.
So they could look through it and see like the veins, and it would not affect them in any other way.
Interesting.
I just thought that was kind of crazy. But then that's the stuff you put in your food. Stuff that makes your skin transparent.
Right.
You guys are crazy.
Yeah, you just try
I love
everything.
it here. I just have to. I really like being here.
The tour is really nice. Yeah, on that regard though.
Send them back.
I really love being on the tour and especially with you two guys and the whole team. It's so nice. Like everybody's so friendly and I feel very much at home. So thank you.
And that's why you steal things all over tour.
Well, yeah. Okay. I have to explain this a little bit. But okay. So I already said I'm staying in cheap hotels because I have to like make up for, the US visa that charged me thousands of euros already to just get here. So I'm trying to save up a little bit and stay in cheap hotels and stuff. And obviously coffee really bad in these cheap hotels, but sometimes they have a coffee machine, like a filter coffee thing. And we did a show in, not to be named because I might get in trouble, but okay, yeah. They had a giant box of Starbucks powder coffee, and I was like, okay, that's mine now. So I bought some more like coffee filters so I can cut it precisely so it would fit all the cheap hotel coffee machines, and I can put the Starbucks coffee in there. So,
I think this is resourceful and inventive, and if I bought that coffee and you stole it, I wouldn't even be mad.
And to make it even better, the ice thing, if you would throw the Starbucks coffee in there, like make it really strong and just a little bit of water, and then go to the ice vending machine and you add the ice and then a little bit of milk, then you have the perfect like Starbucks iced coffee.
See? Oh my God.
So
awesome.
Not just creative with sound design and production, but also with coffee making.
If you are a venue on the Stealing Fire tour and you're seeking compensation, this is where you're looking for.
Right, yeah. Well, usually I always ask. I was just telling Riot, we did show in the Rampage show in Amsterdam, I think, and Dimension was playing, and I had a chat with him the whole night. It was very cool, actually. And well, he had to leave like right after his set, and he had a fridge full of drinks. And usually I can't take my drinks because I have to go on the plane. But yeah, I'll live there, and he had like really expensive champagne and stuff. So I was like, "Do you mind if I take that?" So like, "Sure, yeah, I'll take all of it." So I was in the room, like stuffing the champagne in my jacket and stuff. And then Fox Stevenson walked in, and he goes like, "Franky, what the fuck?" You know, I'm like, "Yeah, I asked." "Yeah, sure, you asked." Yeah,
It's becoming a problem,
so,
Franky.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Getting known for the backstage steal. What is it?
I have accidentally
Might steal some fire, actually. No, I'm just kidding.
I have accidentally stolen. This wasn't at the show. This was at the after party after the show. But it was a very dramatic item because it caused some problems that were quickly fixed. But basically, I come home the next day and I'm in the Uber to my place, and I look for my key in my pocket, and I find my key. But there's another key, and I pull it out, and it's a Ferrari key with like some apartment keys on it too, just like a whole key ring with like a Ferrari car key and some other stuff. Turns out at the after party, I used to get crazy back then, and I was looking for my keys, and apparently that keychain had a leather strap on it that's exactly the same as my leather strap on my keychain, and I just went by touch and thought, "Oh yeah, that must be mine," and pocketed it. And then I come back home, and so it's like, "Yo, the guy who threw the after party's missing his whole keychain, and like he can't get into his apartment." I'm like,
And his Ferrari is gone.
And yeah, exactly. And his fucking Ferrari keys. And it was a Sunday. I couldn't FedEx it back on that day. But yeah, it was. I guess I won't be allowed there anymore. No.
Sometimes.
That was a long time ago.
Talking about stories with keys and drinking and stuff. The one time I actually drunk like too much, I went home and threw up and stuff. Well, you know, yeah. And then the next morning woke up like, fuck, and I go to the toilet again to throw up. Guess what's in the toilet?
Your keys?
My keys. Yeah.
Oh no.
I don't know how I did that, but yeah.
I hope
Okay.
you didn't throw up your keys the night before.
No, I didn't hate them or anything, but I probably just lost them out of
You
my
had,
pocket.
you wouldn't
I have no
remember,
idea.
probably.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I didn't
Glad you
flush
saw-
him. Though.
Yeah, I was gonna
Right?
say.
Yeah,
Oh,
shit.
God. Oh shit, that would be awful.
Yeah, but yeah,
Oh.
stories, huh? What's your craziest drunk story if you want to tell?
Or any tour horror story?
Pressure.
Tour horror
Oh,
stories.
gosh, my
Peer
craziest
pressure.
drunk story. I don't even.
It has to be. It can just be any tour
Yeah,
horror
or
story.
tour
It can
horror
be
story
anything.
could be fine.
It can be that someone came on the bus and took a shit and it smelled horrible for the rest of the tour. I don't know. That probably happened to someone, not to us.
I think one time on this tour that
Speaking out
when
of
I
experience.
first became a VJ, we were on a tour bus and we have, bunks that you sleep in. And there was a girl on the bus who decided she really liked me. And I said, I'm not interested at the time. I was like, I'm not interested in women. I'm sorry. And so she decided to just get into my bunk and stay there and petition until I was willing to accept that she was in my bunk. And
Can you imagine if you're a guy?
and I asked her to get out of the bunk. And I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. When I come back, you won't be here. And I come back and all of a sudden she's wearing my clothes in my bunk.
Oh my God.
So I had to get my good friend Big B to assist me in getting this person out of my bunk. And that was the end of that.
Smart move on her part, though, to put on
Yeah.
your clothes because now we can't
No,
get her
now
out.
she can leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were
Yeah.
gonna say I came back and she was like full naked with
No.
like
Favorite
P. Diddy
shirt. I think
baby
it was
oil.
worse.
And no.
Right? Like it's
Next-
worse.
Yeah, that's
She's
true.
wearing my
Next-
favorite
makes it harder.
shirt.
Ah, damn.
Harder
So
to-
next time a date goes south and if she wants me to leave her place, I will just put on her clothes.
Yeah.
And then she can't kick me
Yeah,
out.
and then she'll be like, "That's my favorite shirt." Okay, fine, you can stay.
On the other hand, I will be wearing a bra and whatever she has in her clothes. That would probably
I
not work.
remember though, I was so tired from doing the load in, load out, and of course, partying on this tour that I was like, do I just let her stay because I really want to go to bed. So I
Yeah.
actually debated it. There was like a half second where I was like, she's wearing my favorite shirt. If I kick her
Fuck
out,
it.
she'll take
But
it.
then also you're in a new city the next day.
yeah.
And then suddenly it kind
Then
of
she's on the bus.
somewhat becomes your responsibility, sort of.
To get her home.
Because everyone thinks like, oh yeah, she's with you. And
Right.
then it's
Yeah,
your,
that's
now it's
true.
your
Didn't
problem.
think of that.
No, yeah.
Oh my god.
There was
Yeah.
always this like timer of like, okay, the bus leaves in 2 hours. And in like that 2 hours of before the bus leaves, like we need to get all of the people hanging out on the bus off the bus because we don't want to take these like people partying with us on this bus like to the next city, right?
Yeah.
So there was always like this timer that was like, okay, 2 hours left. Get them off the bus.
It's like getting flies off of flypaper at that point.
Yeah.
It's going to be so hard.
They are actually sticky at that point too.
And I
probably.
feel like they always come up with an excuse last minute to like just extend it a little bit longer.
Of course, everybody does, right?
Yeah.
I've been
Because they're
there.
having fun, and I get that.
Yeah. What's your story? Worst tour story or something?
So I got halfway through the tour, I got sick. Not just me, someone else on the tour as well. We were both sick, but I, on top of that, had gingivitis. Like some of my gums just got inflamed over the course of a couple of days. I brushed my teeth, but my gums got inflamed. Like not a lot of sleep, a lot of drinking, so immune system just down the drain, and it just started bleeding suddenly and wouldn't stop. And the next, I like just had rolls of tissues stuffed in there. And at the next stop, we were in Fargo, or I don't know where we were. Something with F. I find a dentist and I go there and they like check everything out and they're like, yeah, there's like this cavity that needs to be done, and you have gingivitis. We can do all of that over the next 2 months. And I'm like, I'm only here for tonight. Can you do this now?
Yeah.
And they're like, can you pay now? Yeah. And that was a nice explanation of the American healthcare system.
Right. Oh, shit.
But they nailed it. They definitely completely fixed me up. I was so numb, like my whole left side was like drooping. And then I walked out of the dentist and I called our tour manager. I was like, "Can you give me a cab?" And I had to play in like an hour.
Oh my God.
So I was just like, "Hey, Fargo, how you guys doing?"
Oh.
But they fixed it and they gave me
So
this.
sad.
They gave me this mouthwash too. That was like, you didn't just use it as mouthwash, just gel that came out that you pump into a little cup and you put some water in, you mix it up. And they were like, if you swallow one of the doses, call an ambulance. Because it's so much fluoride in there. But it worked and I felt better. But that was awful. Those were an awful couple of days. But at least I got to spend the awful days in Tombstone, Arizona, which was cool.
Yeah.
It's if you ever get there, it's this one kind of little town in America that just looks like it's from a Westerner movie.
Okay.
Everything still looks
stuff.
still looks the same. They don't have any McDonald's or Starbucks or anything. Really cool vibe.
Nice. Were you able to claim the check from your dentist to your healthcare thing in Germany?
I didn't have American healthcare around that time, and I don't know about if the German would have done anything. I think I just had to pay for it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I wonder what. Like,
It's okay.
yeah,
It's like
dental
figure that
is
out.
different.
$2,000 or something.
Dental's different from healthcare.
Oh, you're right.
in
That's
America.
separated here.
Yeah.
Vision and dental is separated from the rest of the healthcare, and it's all
you can't claim it. Okay.
It's a different. It's an additional insurance that you have to get.
We have that in the Netherlands too, but then still, if something happens,
Stuff's a little weird over here.
Not very important, relevant.
But actually, if you ever have to get stuff out here, like any medicine, I noticed that there's this app called GoodRx, and then you like put in whatever you're buying, and then it shows you this QR code. And when you go to CVS or Target or something, and you check out, you just give them this QR code, and suddenly it's like half the price.
Oh,
and it's so weird because you don't need to make an account to find that. You don't need to log into it. It's just there. It's like whispering a secret code word to the person at the cash register, and suddenly it's half the price.
Okay.
Why does that work? Why isn't it already like with the discount? Sometimes they will actually do it for you. If you don't know about the GoodRx thing, sometimes the cashier will just look it up themselves and scan it for you because they're like, oh, it's $80. You sure you want to pay that? Right. And then if you don't know GoodRx, they just do it for you.
Oh, that's nice, actually.
What is going on in America? Sorry, I'm not hating on America. I like it here. I just gotta repeat. I like it here.
I think diving into a healthcare discussion is, I don't know.
Yeah, true.
I don't know if we want to go down that route.
Well, we can always cut some stuff, but who cares? Like, it's fun to just talk about random.
People can decide
thing.
to watch the extended cut later. Maybe.
Yeah.
It's like a 4-hour
small things out.
Where we go into the nitty gritty of the American healthcare system. Okay.
So should we do? I know that you asked ChatGPT some questions. Should we pull those out?
Let's have a look.
Do a few.
So
the obscure ChatGPT. He specifically asked for obscure ChatGPT questions, right? Not the general. TJ shit.
Why don't you actually say the prompt of what you said?
Right.
It's so boring. It's so descriptive. It's just exactly what we're doing right now.
Okay. All right, fine.
It's super descriptive. Oh, we've already done one of them with the food because it also thought that was nice. This is so it puts them for Franky, for VJ Neurite, for me, or for all.
Okay.
And this one is for all, which is fascinating because you also have to answer this then, Carmen. If you could design a dubstep drop inspired by the sound of an animal, which animal would it be and why? How would it sound?
Well, I think I'm not inspired, but I did sample a lion once to make it out of a growl thing. So yeah, that or squirrel, that would be the obvious, I guess. So easy one for me.
They only do they screech. They can scream pretty aggressively though.
You know what? Even bunnies can make sound. Did you know that? I didn't know at first, but yeah,
they make like little.
They do like.
They could probably also make like some kind of aggressive.
They can scream really bad. Yeah, that's true.
So
actually.
there you have something that's a little more aggressive.
But just don't do very quickly.
I would really want to do a drop with dolphin noises, but I would want to record them myself. And I still have this plan of going to...
Explain, yeah.
I still have the plan of going to California to there's like a dolphin sanctuary there. Andrew Huang went to it in one of his videos, and I want to go there too because the dolphins... I heard a dolphin sing 2 chords that were perfectly in pitch. Yeah, those like B-flat minor chords. I want to go there and record them myself. And then any money also, any royalties that come in from the song will go to the dolphin sanctuary. That's the plan.
Isn't that wholesome? That's cool, right? That it will actually turn out in audio sound designing discovery science, I would say. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you'll find something out. Like the way dolphins talk. Like,
language,
we sound so high right now.
Revive the John C. Lilly NASA experiments. That's been my plan since I saw that video actually from Andrew Huang. Has been my plan to revive the John C. Lilly NASA talking to dolphins experiment.
Hey, interesting.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole. Carmen, animal.
Yes, animal. So I knew immediately what I would want. So I would do fish, but I would do fish in 3 different forms. First would be what somebody thinks a fish.
Riot.
No, first would be what a fish people think a fish sounds like. So like boop 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 boop. Second would be the underwater sounds from deep down, deep sea.
Eliminate bass.
Yes, and the third one would be when you take a fish out of water and it flops on the ground.
Like magic carp.
I would use all 3 of those to make the song.
You can make the snare and the clap from the flap.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
You have the bass from the deep sea.
Yeah.
And then the bloop bloop could turn into whatever. Yeah.
I mean, if you... What was it? Eliminate. He
does don't need you.
Eliminate did stuff with whales. So yeah, whales actually are really
whales
quite
are
useful to make all kinds of crazy sounds out of. So I like that.
Oh.
Yeah. I did get some contact microphones that you can like put on the ground or on any surface, and they don't record what's in the air, but they record the vibrations on the surface. I did want to experiment with that, putting it into you can put it into a tree bark, and then if there's things crawling inside, you can hear the crawling and the tapping of the legs and stuff. I wanted to see if there's any cool way to get sounds out of that.
Nice. You'll be able to do it here, actually. With
there's a lot
of... What's the bird again?
There's a lot of life around
woodpecker.
Here.
Woodpeckers.
And there are squirrels.
They ruin a lot of meetings that I have. And I'm sitting here just like...
And we saw 2 bombies last night. In your garden?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I have a huge wildlife in my garden. Like
owl,
deer.
otter, squirrels, deer.
Otters as well?
Yeah, there's an otter that lives in the pond in the back.
Turkeys.
The owl was stalking it this year, though, so I'm not really sure if it's still alive. But
and we even at where I'm currently at, we got bunnies and rabbits in our garden too.
The turkeys are fun. I like them the most.
Yeah, Rob explained me that they're not allowed to hunt here for like 150 years or something.
Yeah.
So quite a lot.
So there's no fishing and no hunting and all that. Yeah.
Just to clarify, we're in Minnesota. Oh.
In North Oaks, Minnesota. Yeah.
All right. Next question.
Let me see what else we got. I'm gonna look for the for all because those are nice. This is Tor Horror Story. Nice, we already did that. We were one step ahead of you, AI.
We're just so generic with our podcast that he already knows what to ask.
For all as well. If you had to communicate only using sound effects for a day, how would you handle ordering coffee or interacting with fans? Interacting with fans is kind of difficult, but just how would you handle your day?
Well, does it have to be that they can still understand me? Because that
sound effects.
Sound effects
could be
like this,
stretched.
like coffee.
The question is, do you have to make the sound effects yourself with your mouth?
I feel like you should.
Or can you play
Are
them
you just-
back?
Are you
Like-
just able to
I mean, that's like a
talk
difference
via
between a
pitch map,
sample
you know?
and
It's like a
using samples, right?
or
I mean, questions
then
and
talk by
like,
tonal.
I mean, you can always talk with like, like that's okay.
Yeah,
that would be
that's
allowed.
true.
That's sound. Like pitch up
Like
and down.
Sims language.
But I mean, if it would include sound effects, like you had a board of effects that you could press and play, then you're getting close to Bumblebee in the Transformers movies, where he just plays little radio snippets to say something.
I feel like what would be funnier is if instead of having to communicate, you had to follow one person around and make their sound effects all day. I
Maybe-
think that could be quite
That's
funny.
basically the experience of dating me. Literally. I can get you multiple signatures on that. Yes, confirmations. Nice.
Oh, man.
I would just say I am Groot to everything, and then you're
And
settled.
depending on your intonation, it can.
But,
They
yeah.
have to figure out what it
I
is.
mean, he managed to go around with that, so
I mean,
should probably work for me.
I guess I'd end up just with like
I am Squirrel or something.
the standard cartoon sound effects. Like if someone,
Oh,
if
right,
you
yeah.
don't want something or no, is like just with that you can sort of just watch a little bit of Tom and Jerry and take what you
Get
need.
your coffee back. It's like not enough sugar in it. Like
That's exactly.
What's wrong?
But then, do you also get the facial expressions and stuff, like the when you fall in love, that you get the heart's eyes and stuff? That would be nice.
That
Yeah.
would be fun.
Oh, this one's actually kind of interesting because I hope you all branch out. For all, if you had to collaborate with a non-musician, like an artist, filmmaker, or even a scientist, who would it be, and what kind of project would you create together?
I wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
You could collaborate
One more time.
with any non-musician, like some other artist, a filmmaker,
okay.
or a scientist, or
Right.
something. Who would it be, and what would you do together?
There's a lot of things I'm thinking of, but Neil deGrasse Tyson would be awesome to talk about all this. Like, yeah, he's so knowledgeable about everything. I'm sure we can make a great song. I don't know how that makes sense, but yeah, that would be fun. Like Elon Musk or something,
Solid
or
choice.
whatever. Yeah,
I was also thinking science. Matt Parker, he's a great scientist and a very entertaining YouTuber. Michael from Vsauce could also be cool. Or revive Alan Watts just for the lyrics. He can speak some emotional, some insightful, mind-opening things. Ooh. Yeah, like some sort of mathematician to do like an interesting mathematics and music mixture with. For sure. But I feel like Matt Parker or Michael from Vsauce. You?
Ooh, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I feel like I
It
would
could also
I would,
just work for visuals.
Yeah. See, it's hard for me because I'm not a musician, right? So now I'm
Well, you could make visuals with someone
think
else who is
about-
not a
Yeah.
VJ.
That's
Think about
true.
the combination of
That's what I
visuals.
mean.
Like
That's true.
there are
I think
beautiful patterns in nature.
or just someone who could inspire you. Just talking like you did. I'm not gonna name, but I think you showed me yesterday where you get so inspired because it's this guy or type that influenced you so much that you're like, oh, I got this idea. That
Yeah. I don't know. I think like it would be cool. Like when the first visual pack I ever made, I didn't know how to make visuals at the time. And so I ran out with a camera and actually like took video of things. And one of the things that turned out to make the coolest content was this video that I took of water running down a statue. And it was actually really interesting. And there's some statue artists that make like really interesting kind of shift in perspective kind of things. So I think that could be really cool to collaborate on something.
Oh, nice.
interesting.
And art installations as well, like creating an actual like visual experience that you go through like an actual building, and from the start to the finish, you're going through each room kind of experiencing things via smell and touch and taste.
Ooh, I like
and,
that.
Yeah, I always wanted to do some kind of like thing like that where it was like, oh, this is like I'm putting on a 3-day thing in Minnesota, and I'm gonna get like the local theater to come in and different
Yeah.
things like that to kind of put together something like that. Because
okay.
yeah,
Well,
my background is theater when I started in kind of music and
okay.
everything, so I find that really that could be really interesting and fun, building set pieces and interesting interactive
Now you
things.
reminded me of something. This might have popped up on other people's Instagram feeds sometimes. There's this artist who has these exhibits in art galleries where there are tons of little servo motors with like a little cord connected to them, and then like a polymer ball or something. And then the thing just moves and the ball rattles against like a cardboard box. And it just creates this kind of sound. But then he has like hundreds of them in a room.
Right.
And all kinds of similar installations where it's just one big empty room and there's all these things that are moved by these tiny motors, and they all create some sort of sound because something's just like sliding against something else or something is bouncing off of something. And it just creates this weird like Foley atmosphere. And some of them are more noisy, some of them are more calm. And I feel like that'd be a cool collaboration because I feel like that combining that with something more tonal could also be really cool.
Nice.
Plus it looks really cool visually.
Yeah.
That's true too.
I don't know how much visual you could get out of that. I would have also maybe think if visual collaboration, Michel Gondry or Chris Cunningham as just like creative directors to have them.
Yeah,
team.
definitely.
You know what also would be cool if I was a VJ, because I have no knowledge of 3D stuff, but I would love to make an environment that you could walk in with the VR goggles on.
Yeah.
Right? That would be so cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Like playing a VR game in an actual room that is like calibrated for the room, you know?
I've done a lot of that with like the when I was big into doing like the crypto space stuff. We did a lot of creating those like VR environments and stuff, and bringing in like NFTs that were like interactive and things.
And then
like
people
that.
could
like I
at
created
home,
these monsters for my NFTs, and I brought them in, and they were like interactive. Like people could like touch them and they would do something, and
that's
kind
cool.
of fun stuff like that.
I've always wanted to see this in real life, but I know for one, sometimes these huge arcades might have a VR thing where there's a whole area mapped for it, and there's like stuff in real life in 3D, and it's like copied in the 3D world that you look through so that you can like climb on things or step on things. But I also saw other ways of working around the problem of that you can't walk very, very far when you wear a VR headset, where it would sort of do it in a way where, let's say it's just this room, there'd be like a door here, and every time you step through, you're in a new room, and now the entire room is updated.
Yeah, I've
So it's
actually
like
played
a
one of those.
non-Euclidean type space. Yeah.
I've played one of those in Amsterdam already. You could
sick.
go in a room, and you can also like go in an elevator, and that will bring you up, which is very mind fucking because you're going up, but you're not going up. So that's a bit nauseating. But it was
cool,
executed very well. So I didn't get very like motion sick, but yeah, it was really cool though. Yeah.
There's one last method is you go in a circle, so you stay within the room, but in the VR world you're going straight, so that it like counteracts for that.
I've been to the Orlando, like the Harry Potter thing, and they have this attraction, the ride in the Hogwarts castle, and our camera died for a second, so we're resuming right here.
We are back.
If you see some scratches in the screen, that's because of virtual rides for it. They're radioactive, and they. No, just kidding.
If there any like if the file is corrupted.
All right, to the question thing.
All right, so
you were talking about the Harry
Orlando
Potter ride in Orlando.
Yeah, so they had this ride where you could go into, and then there is like this practical, like the actual world, and then from this practical world, it would go into a screen thing. So you're in front of a screen, but the carriage would make the motion. It will give you the impression that you would fly somewhere or like move, but because you were moving in the actual world, and then there's the screen, and then you're almost like moving. It was so messed up for your head. Like,
you get motion sick?
Yeah, I got really bad on that one. Yeah, usually I don't have it with like 4D games. I can play forever, but that one, oh my god, was too much.
So there is that same Harry Potter ride in Hollywood, at the Universal Hollywood, and in Orlando. I forgot which one is better, but one of them is worse than the other.
The Gringotts one also had the 4D thing, and that was fine. So it was just a matter of how they executed it, I think. Yeah. Because the Gringotts didn't have any troubles, but the one in the Hogwarts castle, that made me so sick. Like for hours, actually. So it was quite annoying walking around in the park being like,
I think the Hollywood one had more practical effects. Sort of like there were like real huge spiders or something that would.
Yeah, that was the same in Orlando.
Maybe
there was a combination of the two, and that made me, mess up my head a little. But it was really cool though to see that. I've never seen a combination of practical into going into like this 4D whatever you want to call it experience.
I like when like rides get creative with that kind of stuff. But my favorite was still the one in what was it, Magic Mountain? Not Magic Mountain. It was one of the parks of the Disney World thing. I think with the animals and where they have like Avatar and that
Animal
kind of
Kingdom?
stuff. Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
There's one that's Mount Everest, and it does this crazy thing where it goes. You're outside for a little bit, and it goes up and down, does some cute stuff, and then goes up this mountain prop and rises, and then it goes around the corner, and then the tracks are like broken. They like bend upwards because the Yeti has like broken them out of shape. So you just you stop. And you're like, so what now? And then it falls backwards into the mountain.
Oh, that's
Behind
so
you,
cool.
the tracks have switched to a different track.
Right.
And now you're in the dark and you do a looping backwards in the dark.
My God.
And then at some point
That's
again, it
crazy.
stops and then goes forwards again.
Is that the
So
Space
cool.
Mountain one or no?
Not Space Mountain.
Oh, okay. I like
It's
that.
Mount Everest.
I haven't been there. It's the same like the Hagrid's ride, right? Where you go up, then you go back, and he is like, "Oh, sorry, something it broke down." And there's this devil snare thing, and then you do a drop, but you're on a roller coaster, so the entire thing drops, and then it goes onto a new track.
Oh, damn. Okay, I've heard about that.
That's so sick. Yeah, sorry if I spoiled that.
I don't like
No,
roller
sorry.
coasters at all.
I've heard about that though.
That one isn't also not like too heavy because it doesn't make like loops and stuff. It just go fast.
Yeah, I'm just
but,
like not a roller coaster person anymore.
yeah.
And maybe when I was a kid, I liked him, but now I'm just like, if I don't want to feel uncomfortable, why should I?
yeah. But do you do like the dark rides, as they call it, there,
I
where
like
it just
Space
goes
Mountain,
slow?
which is like in the dark. I think because I just couldn't see my fate.
I mean, it's not that it is dark, but that's just the way they call the rides, where you're on like a slow ride, and you go past things, and you can watch everything, and there's like interaction.
I don't know.
Space Mountain isn't exactly like that. It's like medium fast.
No, it's
I'd
pretty.
say.
Yeah, it's pretty good, like fast, and you go ups and down and stuff in Space Mountain.
Well, then that's an
but
actual
you just
coaster,
can't
I
see.
guess.
So I think for me, I'm just like, whatever. I'm just floating in the sky.
For me, for how dark it was, the curves were too intense because
Really?
I couldn't
Oh, I
anticipate them
see,
because it was
yeah.
dark, and then my neck would be like, whoop,
Yeah, fair.
and I just so I would just sit there like cramped up so that I couldn't get
Yeah.
any whiplash.
But speaking about the screens in these rides, though, because the first one, there was the Hogwarts one, and then the Green Gods thing. I was so impressed, like how they combined that and the whole production thing. But then we also went in this Kong ride, the King Kong thing, and then you were just on a simple carriage, and you just go forward, and then on the left and on the right are like giant screens.
Yeah.
And it was just playing the movie of King Kong,
Yeah.
and that was just like, okay, I'm actually in a movie theater now, but on a moving track.
Yeah.
You know, and there I feel like I'd rather have the
Yeah, they're
the
like we don't
practical-
have a lot of space. We need to work with like the space they
I
have
guess
physically, and then it's
that's
like,
why they do it. Yeah, but yeah, that felt like a missed chance though.
I have to, while we're on this topic, I have to mention the Legoland, the original Legoland in Denmark, in Billund, has
been there?
two incredible things. I've been there many times when I was 4 years old, when I was 2 years old, and when I was 12, and like a couple times. They have two cool things that blew me away. One was a cool little trick in one of the rides where there was water mist just coming down, and they projected an image at it, and you were driving through it.
Ooh.
And in the first moment, you didn't realize what it was. You just thought you're driving at a wall. And then you're like, oh, okay, this was like water
okay,
with
right.
a projection on it.
Yeah.
That one really caught me off guard. Loved that. And then they have this other huge hall where they have these robot arms that look like they usually assemble cars. They're really big, and they have two seats in their claw. You come in and you get a little credit card looking thing. You walk up to a computer terminal, you put it in, and then you can select different moves that the hand is supposed to make once you sit in it.
Okay.
And you chain these moves together like little Lego bricks. And then once you're happy with your selection, it like saves it on the card, and you go over there, you give it to the guy, and he plugs it in, and you sit in the thing, and it throws you around.
Oh, nice.
That
Yeah.
thing
Sick.
was awesome. Never
Yeah,
seen
that's
anything like
cool.
that.
Sick.
I like that.
Have you ever been to the Efteling in the Netherlands? No.
Bless you, Carmen. ChatGPT asks VJ Neurite, as a VJ, what was it here? If your visuals suddenly also came with scents, what would your visuals smell like? Especially
Smell?
for a very intense drop.
Sense as in
Scent.
a sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought that concept would be so interesting. I feel like for me, I have synesthesia, so like I think of sound and color, and I think the same with smells. So I feel like when I think of something or I see a color, I automatically think and associate it to like a specific type of food. So I think everything would smell like different types of foods, and everybody would leave the show very, very hungry.
So our show is mostly purple. What is purple?
Grapes
Pretty good.
and cotton
that's
candy.
nice.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there, we
Everybody
can
with the cotton
we
candy
have
in the front
the
of the rave.
the pinks and purples, and I think imagine like being in like a candy world, like cotton candy world. I feel like that would be most of the show, right? Because we're in those colors a lot.
I like that.
And then it would just go crazy when we get to the red songs where it's like,
What is red? Chili.
yeah, like I don't know, something spicy though.
Ah.
The spice is nice, right?
Yeah.
In honor of
Neurite and Riot and the Chocolate Factory.
For the, I feel like for songs like Star Destroyer, because of the flame visuals, I would think of Palisanto or Stage.
Yeah,
Something.
yeah.
Smells like shamanistic
Tribal and yeah.
earth.
All my songs are like Nutella and like nuts, almonds.
Yeah, the damage song would probably make people spin because if you think about the visuals are like the verse is very intense and it's
Yeah.
always changing. So I
Would be a
wonder
lot of different smells.
how would you do that? Would you know? It's
I mean,
are you
it
going to put the
doesn't-
Nutella and
Yeah.
the chinchilla and
True. That's a bit intense.
I also have a question for you guys. Very generic though, but what are your favorite games that you like to play? Like genre or like a favorite game? Or
I like board games. So I play a
What
lot
type?
of worker placement board games.
Okay.
So that's where you'll get like, let's say six pieces and you have to decide, okay, with these 6 pieces, I'm going to take this turn, then that turn. And based on the order and like decision of how you take those turns, you like rack up points and whatnot.
Right.
But you're not really competing against somebody else. You
can play it
are
on your own.
you are competing, but like what I mean by that is it's unlike Catan where you like steal something from
Right,
someone
yeah.
and it's more
You can't
like
sabotage.
you're doing your
No, it's
own
not
thing.
aggressive.
They're doing their own thing and you're matched up at the end by who can calculate in their head the best, like
Right.
making
Oh,
these
that's interesting,
calculative turns. And I like that.
Can you
a lot.
name an example of
Yeah,
a game?
Terraforming Mars is a good example. Or
Oh yeah.
yeah, like
But that's a digital game, right? But
yeah,
as a
but
board
that one's
game.
actually so technically. No, it's a
Oh, it's an
game.
actual board game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I only know
but
the digital
Terraforming
one.
Mars is actually considered an engine builder more so than a worker placement. But like a worker placement, there's this game called Cytosis that's very nerdy, and you like actually go through the cell and create like cell molecules.
Okay.
That's a worker placement game that I really like.
Never
but
tried
I
that.
might be
but
thinking of
I
things
have
like
to do that.
Dyson Sphere Program or Frostpunk or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's also cool, right?
So
Yeah.
I like, on that topic though, I like games like Dyson Sphere Program or like automation games where you kind of build a factory and automate. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's similar stuff with the math because you have to like think of the conveyor belt transports 30 per second, the miner outputs 60, this machine accepts 15,
yeah.
but gives out 6 per second of that. So then how many machines do I need and how many belts? And then can I sum all
Like
of them up to how many
Factorio and
belts?
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Factorio, Satisfactory.
I'm also
they're all
really
on
into that, but like on an older age, how Anno is like my favorite.
Mhm.
Like getting ships and
Oh,
build
Anno,
up
yeah, of
like,
course. That's
like
German,
chains and
isn't it?
stuff.
I thought
No,
Anno
it's
was
from
a game.
Ubisoft, so I think it's French, but
Okay.
it is the biggest in German.
That's
like,
probably why I
everybody
thought
plays it there.
Absolutely, and
Because
they
I don't
also
know
they have like a
anything.
modern version too, where it like kind of goes into the future-ish.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah,
And you
well,
start building on the moon.
Yeah, you can
Sworn
also
as
do
one,
that.
Yeah,
I really like that too, and like the concept of it, but it's not like the gameplay wise, it's not executed well. But they actually announced a new one for the Roman Empire, so it's like 100 AD or the other one, but like very early, which comes out next year. So yeah, but
nice.
that looks promising.
I like
love
real-time-
those chains
Yeah.
and stuff, and like min-maxing everything.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
so
like
cool.
I like management games like that, and
Yeah.
if they're more real-time strategy, even like I grew up with a lot of StarCraft, Command and Conquer, Age of Empires,
Same.
Warcraft. Those are cool.
Yeah. Also, video game wise, I really like It Takes Two.
Yes, best game.
Best game ever.
Still
for
on
me,
my list
But it's
to play.
what I love about it is I really like collaborative games where you
Me
work
too,
together
yeah.
to do stuff. I
Especially
find
with my
that so much
girlfriend.
more fun than like it also is good
That's
for your
nice, right? Yeah,
relationship,
yeah.
right? But that one in particular, the art and animation is exceptional and it just brought me through my entire childhood. and then messed me up when it was like, it was good. It brought me
even-
through a lot,
yeah.
and it also like there were like multiple points where I was crying while playing this game. But once I made it through the whole thing, I was like, wow, that's the best game ever.
It's
Really
a
have to
very
try it.
therapeutic game.
Very therapeutic
Nice.
game.
It even got Game of the Year when it released.
Yes, it
Deservedly
did.
so.
It did, and it deserved it. Like I can't even think of a game that could have like put up any competition for that. award.
Even Donkey didn't have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah.
And
Do you guys know Don't Starve?
yes, I played Don't Starve together a little bit with a friend.
Right. Yeah, that's the one I play with my girlfriend.
Oh,
Like when
nice.
we
I'll have
were
to
little
try it
more.
out.
I
Sounds
always
good.
starved.
Yeah, well, it's you don't
know
believe
how you
it
do
because
it.
when you look at it, it looks so like easy.
It looks
and,
simple.
yeah, it looks simple. It's pretty complicated actually. It gets more complicated over time, and it's super hard. Like every frog you will encounter, like the simplest enemy will kill you for sure. If you don't know how to play it, yeah.
No, there's
So
definitely a
that's-
lot
that's
to
cool.
learn. But I like it. I also like games like that where maybe like sometimes each run can be a little bit different when you do it.
it's
Kinda
the same there,
like
yeah,
dungeon crawlers or roguelikes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Enter the Gungeon, one of my absolute favorites in that regard.
Enter the gungeon.
Enter the Gungeon. It's
Okay.
all gun themed. You are a person, but everything is weapon themed, which makes for great moments because they have like there's 300 different weapons or something in the game, and
Nice.
during one run you might encounter 10 of them that you collect. They can be references to all kinds of movies and other video games, and depending on which ones you have, they might have a synergy where they work together, and now they have a different effect. Other items you collect might boost your stats, but then they might also have a synergy with each other or with a weapon. And it's incredibly difficult. It's like a bullet hell game, like Toho, those kinds of games where it's like the enemies shoot incredible amounts of bullets at you, and you kind of have to learn the patterns or find the rhythm
Yeah, kind
to
of like a
dodge
Dark
them.
Souls or ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But very rewarding, and yeah, every time it's different when you play it. Like
That's nice, right?
all the
Yeah.
rooms are in a different order. There might be different bosses, and some things might happen with a 1 in 10,000 chance. Where
Right.
like you're like that never happened before. What the hell? And then you just want to
And
keep
also,
playing for it to
with-
happen again.
With these games, I'm not sure if that's with your game as well, but also with Don't Starve and like I said, the Dark Souls and stuff. I really, I figured out that I like games where they don't take your hand and be like, oh, question marker there, and like, oh, you just have to go and these games are like you figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
And that's why you probably die so often in Don't Starve, because you really have to go and like research and see how to actually
Yeah.
survive, and I
So-
think it's
so-
cool.
It takes two's like that too. There's some
Really?
tons
Oh,
of
nice.
puzzles. You'll
And
really
it-
like that.
Yeah, like introducing mechanics and then also developing them over time without
Yes.
having to hold your hand through it. I recommend if you have Portal or
Oh,
Portal
Portal.
2,
It's
play it
great
in
too.
if you've already played it in the commentary mode. Because
I've
there are
done
these
that.
floating icons everywhere that you can click, and then you hear like some dialogue or monologue about certain things, and a lot of them are about the level design because they ran through so many tests with like different colors and what to put accents on. They would watch people play it for the first time and see where do they look first, what do they think these lines or colors mean, how can we just with
Counter
the
that.
design
Or,
make it clear that this is what they have to do, and how do we this concept is
That must be so difficult, right?
so obviously the
to get
first,
that right.
I mean, the first chamber is easy. It's just a red button and a cube on the button, door opens up. And then it's like, okay, now from here, how do you,
step
the
from
button
step.
is a little further away. There's some kind of obstacle in the way. Okay, now you got to get through that. And then it's just like adding these layers on top, but without making it too complicated every
Yeah,
time.
Portal's great.
And
I love
it's-
Portal.
yeah,
Right.
just
And well, you
the
have to
stages
fall
of
in your-
product testing you have to go through and like level testing and design for that, I find fascinating.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Okay, well, that
What
answered
else
my
did they-
question.
what else did they hide?
Wait, there's more.
I mean, I can go on, but
Because I
yeah.
feel like I talk so much. I'm more biased to
Don't worry.
I'm more biased to pick questions for Carmen. There was one interesting one that I had. Where are you? I was up here somewhere. If you had access, Carmen,
Uh-huh.
to any historical archive of footage or visuals to use in your sets, what time period or event would you choose to pull from? Let's include events where video and photo wasn't invented yet as well.
Wasn't
Mm.
invented.
Well,
Yeah.
ramp up the question.
I think for me it would be like the Roaring 20s and stuff. I think just because so much like dance was going on. I mean, you did have video then though. That was
Yeah.
but it was very basic, and I think there could have been a lot of fun ways to bring that to life, and also just like the 70s and 80s too. I know we had video then, but I just think
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of some other time periods that would be really interesting.
I'm also imagining things that have happened and have sort of been filmed, but let's say you could just place a virtual camera there to film a bit of it in the way you would want it to.
If
the moon landing or something like that.
Yeah. Or like a time lapse of like the development of the ocean.
Yes.
I think that could be
I was
really
going to
cool.
be like, Earth when it just first formed.
Yeah,
OG
like different
footage.
stuff like
Awesome.
that. Yeah. Or like space footage, like true space footage, not this like generated stuff or
pixels far away.
Or like me having to create some like space scene that's like super forced.
Like
I think
sci-fi.
like getting to actually film like what it would be like going through a black hole or like what, a spaceship going
did you know, I saw this thing from Neil deGrasse. He showed me you showed you on YouTube.
Yes, he showed you.
He showed that they first found the picture from the moon from the other side of the moon in like 89 or something, like pretty late. I thought the moon would just spin around, right? So you would see the moon in different phases all the time, but it spins with the Earth.
Yeah.
So we just know know the backside of the moon for like 20 or 30 years.
Damn.
Like how it looks. Yeah, I didn't know that. And I also want to hook on this thing of you saying like the 1920s. Do you know the Corridor Crew channel?
Yeah.
On YouTube?
Yeah, we watch them sometimes.
Okay, I love that too. They break down this movie. I think it was called Metropole or like Metropolis. Yeah, have you seen that one?
No.
Okay.
It's long, right?
The opening screen. Well, they show these videos, right, and then the other guys can react. And the opening screen is like Metropolis, and then there's like lights on the text and everything, and then fades into something else. And then he pauses it, and they're like, "Why are you pausing?" And like, yeah, this is the FX. Like, how do you think they've done it in like 9020? How would you make a text-based like video thing in 9020? So what they did, they chalked a white paper, like fully black, and then they would gum out the text, and then with a stop motion, they would gum out even more, and then paint it back in again, and gum it out, and that way it would flash like a white flash, so it would look like a neon text kind of. Yeah,
I think in the same movie they had a shot where it's like a crowd of people that are all like sitting in a theater or something, and it looks like they're all moving, but they aren't. It's like it's a still image, and there are certain parts cut out.
Is it the one with the smoke and like?
And they have like little lights. They have basically light coming from the back, and then sometimes some of the holes are covered, and sometimes they're not. So it looks like it's all flashing.
They just moved
but they're just moving some layer behind the image, and it's like they basically just cut out all the bits that have speculars, like little shiny and like corners of everyone's heads and their eyes,
so cool,
and that way it looks like they're moving.
Yeah.
And you only see it like it's in the movie maybe for a second or two, so you can't look at it for long enough to notice that there's something wrong. But if you like look at it on a loop, you can start to tell, oh yeah, no one's actually moving. And there's some real
it's
genius
really
stuff.
interesting the different ways that they were creative and tried to make animation look like what today's modern day animation is. And it's interesting when you watch films such as like Star Wars, for example, because now it hasn't aged super well, right? In some ways, like you watch it and you're like, I can see the strings, but why did I never notice that back in the day, right?
So, we know more.
Yeah, we know more.
Info hazard.
But I also find it really interesting because I think that's something that a lot of people take for granted these days. It's like with Photoshop and with After Effects and Premiere, I think it's very common that a lot of animators don't actually know how, if you took those things away from them, they wouldn't know actually how to do animation in some of the styles we're talking about, like stop motion or frame by frame stuff. And I find that really fascinating. And I always try to like put myself back a step to like not do it the hard way, but almost like understand the basics of how you do this, or how you would like finding a creative way to like create a fake animation,
like
but what was a very real animation back in the day, right? So I find that really interesting, and I think like it would be fun to have challenges that are like try to recreate this, but without any of this technology, right? Like
that's what I like about the Corridor Crew channel, like when they try to rebuild, for instance, with Dune, the sand crawler, they make that as a miniature and with animation and stuff, like as a practical thing. And then they start on jumping in all these kind of problems. Like, for instance, sand. If you take that into miniature, then the sand, like the spots, how would you say that? The grains are too big.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they need to find an alternative for like miniature sand and all that. So cool.
Yeah,
I think they had like crushed nuts or something, which was like super tiny, and they even had to like wear masks and stuff. Yeah,
because I know for some faraway shots of like either some nature shots or if it was like a fantasy movie where there were waterfalls in the distance, they would use salt.
Yeah, true.
To
imitate
the water.
That's actually in Star Wars, the first one.
Oh, that is in Star Wars.
Yeah,
nice. That's cool.
And actually, for the first Dune, where they had to do that, they made it out of miniature. How do I say this? But
say it in Dutch.
Glass shards.
Oh,
but like super small.
Probably dangerous.
Very dangerous. Yeah. So that's why they didn't do it again. They did it with the nut thing, but yeah. Can you imagine you make the animation and the sand pops up and you take an inhaling and then you're like, oh,
so many things you can do with nuts.
Very versatile. You can eat them. You can make practical effects, right? So
DJ as them.
Yeah, maybe we could make a CTG out of nuts. Who knows?
And another thing with visuals and like animation and aging and also technology not being as available back then. Like I'm thinking of, for example, sometimes like with all the stuff we have now, I'm thinking back of the first Ice Age movie. Technology wasn't at its peak, especially the humans looked awful in that one. But you kind of had to work with what you had, and maybe sometimes you were forced a little more to. It still looks kind of good, but sometimes you were maybe even forced to, like, for example, the fucking mammoth doesn't have a lot of expressiveness. It doesn't even have a mouth. So first of all, you got to make the eyes and the eyebrows work a lot. And B, maybe you have to convey his emotion more through the storytelling and his acting. Like when he is turning his back towards Sid when they're in the rain taking shelter. Like there's all these kinds of things. And now that makes for a much more funny scene that builds character and maybe a limitation of some other thing have brought you there. I really like that. And on that topic, I recently learned about the first Transformers movie that the animators were just screwed because they had to, like, they decided last minute, like, oh yeah, we want the faces to be completely immotable, like, so that they have eyebrows and all these different parts, but they all still gotta look like robots and they're gonna be able to move and like still express emotions. And I think even just one eye has like so many parts and polygons and like tiny little things to even imitate like an iris expanding and contracting. And I think that thing looks still pretty good. Like nowadays, some of the newer Transformers movies,
so much work back then. You know?
Yeah, some of the newer Transformer movies now aren't as good anymore because like it's kind of like back
all
then
CGI.
Now it's like either all CGI or it's like no one is as interested anymore. Where back then when they first came out, it was a bit of like a benchmark of here's like the crisis.
I've never seen this before.
Yeah, like here this is what we can do. And freaking what was this? Was it James Cameron? Roland Emmerich? No, James Cameron, right? Did he do Transformers? They did so many practical things, like really crazy. Yeah, explosions. Some of the Transformer models were also practical in some moments, and so still looks good.
Speaking of old technology, what is the oldest thing that you've used?
Oh,
or something you would like recreate, like with a practical thing or something.
Resolute 4.
Right, the software. Yeah, okay.
Software. Surprisingly, no. I had this. I had this old touchpad controller that I actually got from another VJ, and you would slide your finger on the fader to go up, which sounds like newer technology, right? Because it's like a touchpad, but it would only work sometimes. So it would work like maybe you do it 3 times and it would work the 3rd time. So that was the first controller that I ever VJ'd with, and then the first software was Resolute 4, and I've talked about this before in some of my like Patreon, but like there was no undo button.
Oh, okay.
And if you, let's say I built an entire project file and I accidentally moved, if you ever like moved a clip to the right, it would shift all the clips down and delete everything after it.
Kind of like painting.
Yeah,
there's
but
no
there's no undo button. And the only option was to then close it unsaved and open the last version of it. And you couldn't just Command S to save either. So it was pretty rough. And
What version are you on now?
It's like 8, or they changed it it's like not Resolume anymore with versions, but now it's just Resolume Arena subscription based. But the last one that they like came out with as a number was like the 7. And that one has an undo button.
A lot of plugins also don't have undo buttons.
Yeah.
But it's becoming
it's a
thing
little
now.
different when you
in
spend
Logic.
hours on a
It's
working on a
building
project
like an
file.
extra
Oh,
undo.
nice.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
I think
Sorry.
spending hours on a project file is different than like, okay, I'm back 30 seconds or back you know what I mean? It's
Well, we
like
get used to it as
I
well.
would sometimes design an entire show and something would fuck up and then that was it. I was screwed and I was back to the start. Hours of
Also,
work
standard
gone.
producer moment here. Got to use any chance you can get to show that your DAW is the superior one.
Oh, no, not at all.
No, we all do
No.
that.
No, I think
funny.
Ableton is superior over Logic. I'm just used to it. But fun fact though, speaking about software and like old software, the first Photoshop still, in the new Photoshops, like everything we know, the color palette where you select the color and all that stuff, that's still the same as the first
Oh, wow.
Photoshop.
They
They
did?
never change it.
They never released any new colors? Damn it.
No, but I mean the interface, like the UI.
Yeah.
I think, all right. Gotcha.
The other thing that I've done before, which is super fun and is the old way that VJs used to, chop visuals, which was taking VHS videos and actually chopping different VHS videos together to make visuals.
Ah.
And there was a guy who worked for, I think, Pretty Lights that used to do an analog version of visuals for like the longest time up until like a few years ago. And it was really cool. And he actually did it a really interesting way. And he showed me how he did it. And I played with that. But
then he just brings all video recorders with him to the show.
Now
or
I'm
how
curious.
is it?
Would this kind of work like a mellotron? Like the music instrument mellotron?
Uh-huh.
Do you know?
no, I don't.
It's an very old thing, but it basically, imagine it has a little tape cassette for each key with a loop of a violin recording on it. And when you press the key, it actually puts lets that channel
tape
through.
down. I see.
So
yeah.
I'm imagining, obviously, I'm imagining this to be a similar thing where you don't have full video cassettes, but you have like loops of a certain visual on the tape.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
how
have a bunch
analog.
of,
That's how like the analog that the Pretty Lights guy, he does it more like that.
Yeah.
But you can they actually used to literally take VHSs.
like full size.
Yeah, like full size VHSs and put them in and chop.
And have like
using
VCRs that are like.
Yeah, and it would
And
be
then
like
four of
chopping
them
in
on
a
top.
video.
And travel with them.
That's the jockey was chopping these VHS videos, and that's how it kind of used to be done.
Crazy.
That's kind of tight
That
though.
kind of was how it was
You
done.
could
but
probably then easily
the
though
Pretty
have.
Lights guy's more like the analog thing you're
Yeah.
describing, where it was like, yeah.
I feel like then you might have easily some control over if the VCR puts it out in like red, green, and blue color channel. You can then mess with that and
Yeah.
mix it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's also
weird.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also
like
did this thing with the projectors and then the oil dripping down for
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
Real time visual.
Yeah.
like in the
generation where you have
1960s or
some-
something,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
the band
projector
stuff.
based
Yeah.
stuff. I used to do that too in class.
We should do microscope.
I used to put
Visuals.
I used to put
Micro
the
visuals, yeah.
hand
For micro drops.
sanitizer on my teachers,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
like those old projector things they used to write on for notes.
Oh yeah.
With the
Yeah,
thing that you can
I would
over
like
that
when the
projector.
teacher would leave the room or something, I would grab hand sanitizer and put it on the notes, and she'd come back and be like, "What the hell?" And nobody would say anything in the whole class. Like nobody would tell on you because everybody just thought it was funny that she was gonna have to rewrite all the notes, and it was gonna take her all that time again. I was mean, but she was mean too.
Ah.
She deserved it.
And what's your oldest hack thing that you used for music? Could be analog or just
I
like
actually-
recording, whatever.
I actually just recently bought a tape machine on Amazon, and like I just wanted a tape
like an
recorder.
actual tape thing
Yeah.
with the 2 wheels and the
Yes,
Right,
actual
okay,
tape,
yeah.
but I wanted not big tape cassette. And I
okay.
didn't, but I want the thing I was looking for was something that I can put a cassette into and it can play it. I can record onto it, and it has a way to stereo record in and stereo output, so that I can record something from my laptop to it and from the thing back to the laptop.
Yeah, so you could use it as an effect.
Yeah, and there's also a microphone in it, and that's nice. But I looked this up on Amazon, and it's not like an old refurbished thing. It's like they just still look like old crap. They still look real boring and gray and brown and chunky, and it's like $19 or $29. But it works.
That's not much.
And then I also found on Etsy some people sell really nice cassettes that are just like a 15-second loop length. So if you want to like do stuff with that, which is also really cool. But so I recorded some loops onto that and then put them back to the laptop. But before recording them back, like I would hit play on the tape machine, but then maybe like mess with the stop or the fast forward or the backward button so that it would start to like jitter or play at half the speed and just mess with that.
It also comes with like a delay. So like the loop speed would be like half the time, and then you get this.
That would be cool, but
right.
it's just like it just looks like an answering machine tape recorder thing that some people might have used back in the day. It can't do anything fancy, but I found that also on Etsy, people just buy those off Amazon and then modify them, and then they'll add like a little knob on them that we can change the playback speed like dynamically. We can like speed it up or slow it down. Nice. Especially slowing down, of course. That sounds awesome.
This is dead, by the way.
Right, come in the video and then we'll close it. I think we're on an hour anyway.
Yeah,
so it's nice to wrap it up. Yeah. Okay. So the phone died, so we have to wrap it up.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
We did about an hour.
I think we're good. Right?
Yeah.
You guys had fun?
Yeah.
And if you have ideas or comments or questions for the next podcast, let us know. And what would help really much as well is give us a like and a subscribe. I hate to ask it, but it will definitely help us. And then we can do more of these fun podcasts if you like to, right? So this is Franky. Thanks for watching.
This is VJ Neurite.
This is Val.
Hell yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.